We are live. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us tonight for our 41st Pearl of Wisdom. And we are both streaming live on Facebook, and also we have our Zoom family coming on board to join us. I'm so excited about this Pearl of Wisdom. Mynoo and I always get a chance to just chat a few minutes beforehand. And I was saying, oh my goodness, I wish I had this tool in my toolbox yesterday. I really needed it. And this 41st Pearl of Wisdom is tactful. So I know we've all had those opportunities where we could have potentially been more tactful. And I can't wait to hear Mynoo's perspective. She always has a unique vantage point and different way of approaching and looking at things. So tonight's Pearl of Wisdom will be delightful for sure. There will be 7 things that Mynoo will share about being tactful, and the 4 cornerstones to anchor, the 3 pitfalls to avoid. These are the things I absolutely love. So welcome, welcome, our 108 Pearls of Wisdom. We're on the 41st Pearl of Wisdom, and so excited to be here with you tonight. Mynoo, thank you all for coming tonight. We are very excited. I always ask Mynoo, where are you? Because she was always traveling around the globe, and she is in her home, I believe, in Dubai. Is that correct, Mynoo? For some reason, she's not able to hear us yet. Mynoo, are you able to hear us now? Yes, lovely. So welcome, everyone, and thank you to Mynoo for joining us, for guiding us and allowing us to delve into this 41st Pearl of Wisdom, which is tactful.
Thank you, and I shall begin. Good morning, everyone. Yes, it's tactful. I was saying to Catherine, I was quite surprised that tactful by itself became a Pearl of Wisdom. And a Pearl of Wisdom, as you know, is that it occupies that space because each Pearl of Wisdom has the capacity, if we just only focus on that, to make this world a world that works for everyone. So tactful it is today. And it's the 7 things you should know about tactful. 4 of them are 4 of them are foundational pieces that you will anchor to really own and operate from being tactful. And 3 of them are pitfalls to avoid. The first one, which is a foundational piece to anchor, is to do with thoughts. It's about thoughts. And it really, to understand what we mean by thoughts in the context of tactful, we really go into the kind of experiences we have. I mean, think about it. When do you think, oh, I really wish I could be tactful? You know, it's to do with a certain experience that you wish to have, or a certain experience that you wish to avoid. So what's important to understand in the context of thoughtful is, you know, what is it that gives rise to our experiences? It really is our beliefs. You know, it's a belief about things. This sort of an environment has this impact. This kind of a person with these attitudes makes me feel a certain way. You know, if I am in this quiet, wonderful place with nature, I can think, I can be creative. You know, and if there's too much busyness, you know, my monkey mind, we were talking about that, Catherine, earlier on, you know, takes over, and I can't really come from my center that easily, right? It's various combinations of our beliefs that give us the experiences we have. So to really be able to understand this foundational piece, the thought foundational piece of tactful, it's useful to really get you know, what is it that makes up our beliefs? What is a belief? And I mean, I know you must have heard this, and I have for myself, where people go, stop believing that. Well, it's easier said than done. Stop believing that. I mean, it's like, how can I stop believing that when it's been ingrained in me, or it's a part of my culture? So just like stop saying that. But yes, if our belief is what gives us our experience of life, sometimes we are to stop believing certain things. And for that, it is important to understand what is a belief. See, in my world, it's all about life occurring with ease, joy, and grace. So if it is to occur with ease, joy, and grace, and if I am to change something that has really given me my experience of life up to this point in time, like a belief, how do we bring ease, joy, and grace into it? By literally unpacking what a belief is. And a belief, basically, if you look at, when you unpack belief, you get to see that what makes up a belief. Belief isn't birthed just like that. There's a build up to it when something becomes a belief. And there is a build up to you accepting, the norms out there as the beliefs that you sign up to. So belief basically is a thought. It's a thought that you repeatedly keep thinking. It's a thought that you think a lot. I need a quiet place to think, compose myself, and then I can write. That's what I thought, you know? I mean, to such an extent that I actually left London and went to Bali because I wanted to be in the midst of nature and be able to write. And yes, I wrote a lot, but in terms of my first published book, that actually culminated here in Dubai, which is not that quite wonderful place with waterfalls. It is a wonderful place in very different ways, quite psychedelic and, quite glamour struck and man-made. So I thought, okay, I can go and really allow myself to think, receive, assimilate, and not worry about joining the dots. When I'm in a place like nature, so I still lived in Bali, but if when I wanted to conclude something, I would come to Dubai and have a 2-week sprint, and everything will come together. I'll get it done, completed, delivered to wherever I needed it to be delivered. So this is the exciting thing about a thought. A belief feels like hard work to change. But when you understand that it really is, a belief is not a culmination of multiple thoughts. It's a culmination of a single thought that you think a lot and you keep thinking. And that creates a belief that gives you your experience of life. So if you are to look at the thought part of tactful, you look at what is that single thought that I have thought a lot to give me this belief. And you just literally change that. And so many other thoughts that come together, or dots connect up. They just literally, the connections go away. And you just keep thinking that thought. You could think if it is to do with stress or anxiety, there's certain things occur and they cause you anxiousness or anxiety. Well, what's the thought underpinning that? And if you can't figure that out when you're anxious, it's difficult. You just shift and think happy thoughts. Pick one thought that will make you supremely happy, one thought that will have you feel whole and complete, one thought that has you know the wonderment that fills up our world. One thought that enables you to reclaim your power and just think it a lot. So the key thing is, thought is your access to break a pattern that literally makes you slide into a belief, which immediately opens the doorway to your experience, which may be good or bad. Now, whether you like it or not, you are thoughtful. Thoughtful, really in my world, it simply means full of thoughts. You can just become, a miner. Mine those wonderful, happy, yummy thoughts. And I mean, it was a great mining exercise when I took this on. I thought, right, if I am full of thoughts, I thought I could just walk around being thoughtless all the time, and I thought, okay, I accept, consciously, unconsciously, subconsciously, if I'm full of thoughts, I accept that. Let me mine. Let me mine those happy, yummy thoughts. We are in a slipstream right now. So, I'm very proactive about this, looking for thoughts that get me into that yummy flow and thoughts that, turn up the volume on yumminess. I thought, okay, this is a good time to mind that. And I have to say, I found so many wonderful thoughts that I have. And the great thing was, as I was mining it, what made me feel that I'm thoughtless was, I just don't have judgments anymore. And if I feel, a judgment coming along and I'm not able to shake it up, I just go, okay, I'll just make it a game. I will just go turn the volume up, judgment. And it just fizzles out really fast. And it just becomes something that makes me laugh, that even I could think this way. And it's all a game. And you know how our judgments are a very important indicator of thoughts that have that lacing of yuckiness. Particularly when we get judgmental about people, particularly when we get judgmental about ourselves. There is literally, as a thought I got, that there's nothing to be judgmental about anyone, however nasty they may have been. They don't become nasty. Their action is nasty. Yeah, it's nasty only because I say it feels nasty to me that they did this. But you can imagine when we start labeling people as unkind or nasty, we're starting to label the world as a world that's made up of these people that have got these characteristics. And it doesn't feel like a great world that we want to necessarily be in and enjoy. And we start becoming more and more defensive. Our own shutters start going up. And our experience of life becomes somewhat deprived of vigor and vitality and vibrancy that is so visible in nature. When you are in this amazing, this was my, I thought when I went to Bali that, okay, this is it, I've retired. I always wanted to retire at 50 and I did. And that's when, a whole new world opened up where all day became work and all day became play. But I got to see that if I can be here and I can see this vibrancy, the rice fields in front of my home, filling up with fireflies in certain seasons, those fireflies just stepping into my bedroom and me sitting under the mosquito netting and watching these little things glow around. I mean, even in the dark, there was such aliveness and such vibrancy. That's the world that's available to that firefly. It's available to me. So it's up to me to create that vibrancy. And it all stems from a single thought that you think a lot, and it becomes a belief. And that is what gives you your experiences of life. It took me many years to detach that exuberance from my time in Bali and know that I carry that with me wherever I go. So I can be here in Dubai and find that exuberating feeling and the richness of wonderment all around me. And I could be there in the slums of Mumbai and find it there also. Knowing that my world is a creation of my thoughts. So in the context of tactful, just go back to where you feel you really need to be tactful. If tactful, one of the foundation pieces is thought, and I'm asking you to mine your thoughtful mind, where you're mining for these yummy thoughts that keep you in flow, then people that you think you have to be tactful about, they're really an opening and an opportunity for you to share those yummy thoughts. Now, that's an interesting belief to work with. Because this person might have been, might have done something not that pleasant to you. It doesn't matter. The person did what they did. If it feels like they did something, really nasty to you, what's giving you the nasty experience is not them. It's you holding on to how awful they were, that they, changed your world in this way. But you changed your world. They did what they did. Doesn't make them good or bad. It's like, okay, that's their journey. They can live with it in whatever way they want. I'm going to live with my thoughts. And if I think a thought a lot, it becomes a belief. So, oh my God, the belief automatically gives you your experience of life. So if you feel a victim thought about one person and you think it a lot about that person, it's nothing to do with the person. The victim thought is what becomes a belief. And that gives you your experience of life, and you start walking around a victim waiting to happen. And all you require to do when you embark on implementing this pearl of wisdom is find that one happy thought. And if you've already engaged in mining your thoughtful mind, and you've already mined these happy, yummy thoughts that keep coming up from time to time, you can go and tap into any of those and just think them a lot. I really love this game. Becoming a thought miner, a happy, yummy thought miner. From a mind that is full of thoughts. How wonderful. The second foundational piece is actualization. And it really is about self-expression. Actualizing what? You can live in a world that becomes so rich in aha moments, like every pearl of wisdom is so rich in lots of ahas. And it feels good, it feels enriching and invigorating. And when you actualize it is where your self-expression shifts. And those of you who've done the journey to miracles, who've done the work that I do in terms of understanding your mastery that puts you at the source of your life, your source mastery, that is the ultimate self-actualization experience. And even when you don't have it, if you mind a happy thought, you actualize it. It transforms your self-expression. So talk about tactful. We often link tactful to how we are communicating. And if your communication becomes an expression of yourself, as opposed to feeling that you have to duck, dive, and maneuver and manipulate, it becomes a self-expression. Literally anything that is devious or that is manipulating and maneuvering you just cannot stand in the wake of you expressing your self-actualized self. This takes, it literally does turn your head when you start implementing it in the context of communication. I've often heard, and my dad was one of those people who would say, I just speak my mind. But he would actually really just throw it back at you at times. And, people would just shrivel. But it was like a backhand. He was not expressing himself. And when you do want to say what you mean, you are saying it, utilizing this foundational piece of actualization and then you're expressing yourself, you will set the context. You would say that, look, like I say that so often when I want to really communicate something which is not acceptable to me, I would say that, look, I made a promise to myself that if there's something that takes me out of my flow, I will address it when it happens. Just so that there is no buildup and there is no unsaid communications, and we all, remain very clear what the expectations are, and we are able to fulfill on those expectations. So in that context, there is something that doesn't agree with me right now, which is this. And my request is we address it in this way. And if we are not able to, that's okay. I will not participate in it. So I did say, just like my dad would say, I just speak my mind. I did speak my mind, but I came from a space of experiencing the actualization of myself, my true self, and I expressed myself. And what that does, this actualization transforms how you communicate because it reconnects you to the context of your life, to the context of why are you even spending time talking to this person. You may as well reiterate that context, or you choose, I'm not going to communicate to this person at all, and then stop holding on to it. So this is a very important foundational piece, actualization part. And I'm saying it in the context of self, but if you applied actualization to any of these aha moments that you have experienced, if you only took the pearl of wisdom, if you only took one pearl of wisdom and you pulled out the nuggets for you and you actually put them into action, implemented them, you're actualizing what you was a light bulb moment to really illuminate your self-expression. And that's when it starts to deliver a shift in the experience of life. So for me, you know, I always like to do the lay of the land. It's a technology in itself, really. So when I took this one up, the actualization app, I said, okay, I will do a lay of the land in a full spectrum way: physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, social, and environmental for myself. You know, what I've learned is I don't need to go out there and fix anything. I don't need to go fix anyone. I don't need to go fix anything out there. You know, if I just turn the focus on me, I don't even need to fix me. You know, I just turn the focus on me, and bit by bit by bit, I take those baby steps and start implementing whatever I want to implement on myself. And as my world transforms, the world outside me transforms. Important formula for ease, joy, and grace. And again, this is a belief that I created. Again, in my world, you know, giving labels to something outside of you as the truth is like giving your power away. So it's, you know, it is what you make it. It is what it is. Everything else is a function of your experiences. So when I started implementing this and I started looking at my physical side, you know, and I started looking at, okay, what are the big aha moments that I have had in my life, which made me think, wow, this is profound. I wish I had implemented this earlier, or whatever wishes I might have had. Okay, I'm going to take this piece and actualize this. So I took up, you know, intermittent fasting for myself. And there were various others, you know, it's like fasting was great, but there still wasn't sufficient movement. And then lockdowns happened, so the movement got even more restricted. So decided to make this a game. Yes, Vince, it is the secret of life. It is, in fact, the secret of aliveness. So I started moving around in the house. It wasn't fulfilling enough, but I did it because at least it got me moving. And then I, you know, here I am in Dubai. I decided I am going to. What is it that brings about that invigorating, vibrant vitality? When I feel like I'm this super excited, sparkly, bright-eyed kid going into kindergarten every morning. So where can I go into kindergarten? My grandkids are coming. I know one of them loves the water. I could learn swimming. So that began my kindergarten journey on this physical side, actualizing it. You know, so I'm like, so now what I'm doing, I take swimming lessons, I'm learning yoga, I'm learning to ride the bike, and I've started learning how to sing. So I'm like, you know, and all of this happens in my day, just like suddenly my day has all these extra hours. And of course, those of you who know my morning practice, it is quite elaborate in itself. I've got so present to the complete illusion of, you know, not enough time. I realized that's just a thought that I thought a lot, and it gave me a belief of busyness and rushing around. So I actually don't have a sense of overwhelm. I have my family go, what, another class? Join. Well, yeah. We have this expo going on here in Dubai right now. And those of you, if you ever want to come to this expo, you come now. Because as people start sharing about it, you will get to know how amazing it is. And more people will come. So right now, it's not that busy. They're creating stories of it being very busy. It is not very busy, but it is the most amazing experience I have seen. It is literally many of our 10 commandments in action. So, you know, the focus is coming together of people, prosperity, and the planet. And each country, it isn't a big shopping mall or a fair or anything like that. No, it's very elegant. It is a collaborative co-creation of humans, technology, um, you know, artificial intelligence. Every pavilion has that. Amazing, amazing experiences that are there in every country. You get to know it from a whole variety of facades. And it's each one has this amazing experience, like their show, you know. So it's about 40 minutes drive away. And we went there. I've been there once, was there for maybe 6 hours and saw 4 or 5 pavilions. That's it. And in that time, there was one particular one. I wanted to go to Sustainability Pavilion, and lo and behold, I went to the wrong one. It was completely the right one. It was called Mission Possible. So perfect. And it was great. You know, I went into the water thing because we are in the middle of a slipstream and it's flowing in flow. You know, got to meet a number of Peruvian families and what they have done in terms of using certain cloud catcher meshes, and how that cloud catchers convert what they capture in the forms of cloud that descends in Peruvian villages as mist, and convert it into water that then feeds the farms. And then they have this game. You know, each one has a console, and you can play that game, and you can become a player, and you can capture the clouds, and those clouds then convert into water, which is then linked to particular villages. And then the person who is the head of that village comes back and thanks you for how many liters of water you've just captured, right? So I captured 19.5 liters of water in those few minutes that I had. And it was like, wow, this is amazing. You know, this person is in some Peruvian village, and somehow there must be a piece of technology there that they are getting, you know, that I have contributed 19.5 liters of water to their village. It was amazing. Sitting here in the Dubai Expo. So what we decided was, in terms of my physical well-being, you know, I go for a walk. It's hot in Dubai. Go for a walk to the mall. So it's all part of actualization. My sister and I said, well, we want our 10,000 steps. Why don't we just go to the expo? You know, 3 days a week, we go to the expo, arrive there at about 4 o'clock, and we just go see these different pavilions, and we have our 10,000 steps. So it's like, yeah, sounds good. So you can imagine, I am completely invigorated. But this leads me on to the third foundational piece. The third foundational piece is coherence. Coherence. Different than congruence. You can look it up in the dictionary yourself. But the journey of coherence, you know, to get to coherence, the precursor to that is to find your flow. And to find your flow, there's a precursor to that, which is get into alignment. So this, you know, okay, 10,000 steps, going to the expo, because I'm over 60, by the way, so I get a free season pass, which is like, oh my goodness. My son says to me, that must have taken some therapy to accept that you can get some free elderly passes. I don't care. I'm cool with that. But that, you know, I was in alignment with actualization of my physical exuberance. And I was also in alignment with the 10,000 steps. Achieving those 10,000 steps every single day by going and walking in this humongous mall was perfect during the lockdown period. Didn't feel great now when, you know, you can be out and about. But the weather is such that it was not comfortable. So but it needed alignment first. Then I went to find flow, you know, and I wasn't quite getting there. So I introduced swimming and bike riding and stuff, and all of that is great. But still, there was something about walking and, yeah, have a great gym in this place that I live. It just isn't the same 10,000 steps on a treadmill. So I was looking for flow and, found the flow in terms of being somewhere where I could be outdoors and I could be indoors. And having really experienced how each nation state, there are 187 pavilions there, and we've seen 5 of these. And we have 6 months to go still. I found just the thinking behind this, whether or not the countries are actually doing everything that they're displaying that they're doing. Even if the fact that they gave it so much thought and put this show together, and so many people have been employed in making this collaborative co-creation of coexistence be expressed for people, planet, and prosperity. And I'm there walking with my holographic connection to the world in terms of vibrational presence, felt so coherent. So coherent. And if I'm feeling coherent as I'm visiting these different pavilions in different countries, there is a little piece of that is being spread into those countries. And that's a belief I choose to think a lot. That's just a thought I choose to think a lot. And it becomes a belief that gives my experience of life, which is in coherence. I am actualizing everything that I talk about. I feel alive. You see how practical it is and how easy it is to implement. Just needs a little bit more thinking. Coherence is a very important thing, and don't bulldoze your way. You do not bulldoze your way into coherence. You just don't. You don't achieve coherence that way. You get aligned, you find your flow, actualize yourself, express yourself in your flow. Coherence is a consequence. And you don't have to think about being tactful. You just are. And the 4th one, which is a foundational piece of tactful, is tenacity. Keeping at it, seeing it through, living it, breathing it, noticing when it feels off, noticing times when you just don't want to do it, and doing it just because you said so. The tenacity piece, I was talking about this to Gaurav yesterday. And I had just come out of my yoga session, and I was saying to him, I've been so busy in so many other ways that every morning when I have my yoga class, I feel, oh, maybe I should just not do it today. And he said, but you do it every day. And I said, yeah, I do it because I said so. And so he said, well, what is it that makes you, I just want to understand, what is it that makes you want to do it because you said so, when you feel a moment before that you don't want to do it? It just made me think, I think I've just developed this tenacity. Doesn't make me superhuman. I mean, it didn't just happen. And I have to say, this tenacity training really came from my, my world where I was a corporate executive. And also my training in India to live and flourish in a competitive world. I really saw that did set me apart when I started working in other parts of the world. I said something that was going to get done, and I would do it. Doesn't mean that I was able to accomplish the results every time. Sometimes I didn't. Many times I didn't. But it still didn't stop me. I didn't wallow in it. I kept moving forward. So seeing it through is the key. And that is what gives you that foundation of tenacity. You know, the peace that has transformed my experience of life with tenacity, I had that tenacity. And I would feel burnt out. So I took on living an extraordinary life with ease, joy, and grace, where all aspects of my life coexist. And I decided to see that through. And I continue to see that through. That really has brought many exhale moments into and built up this muscle of tenacity. And it has happened with ease, joy, and grace. And I know so many of you here, I know some of you more intimately than others, where you've taken on a mantle, David and Helene, and their Think Positive World work. It's taken some tenacity. You've seen it through time and time and time again. And Linda, you living a life where you are at one with nature. Even if it is in this amazing, luxurious surroundings of your home, you did it even before anyone was talking about it, let alone it being fashionable. For you, it was just so, and that was seeing it through, tenacity. It's a very powerful muscle. Just know we don't have to do anything. We don't need to do anything. There is no should or should nots. There is what you decide that you believe in. That is what you decide. Is that one happy, yummy thought you're going to think a lot and make it your new belief and seeing it through? I did not believe all aspects of life could coexist. To me, that was not possible. And for that to occur with ease, joy, and grace, what does that even mean? It just felt good when I had that thought. And I thought, that's what I want. That experience that I just had for a moment, fleeting moment, I want that all the time. So I took that on as something I was going to see through, regardless of what occurred. And that has certainly given me the power, the inner centeredness, even when, we've had all sorts of collapses, finance market collapse and all sorts of stuff, a project that we invested a huge amount of money, finding that some certain people just hadn't given us completely the wrong documents. So it was going to be a very big write-off. I still kept going with expecting and accepting miracles as the norm for humans and humanity. Not feeling I was being a martyr or anything. I was literally seeing it through, living an extraordinary life where all aspects of life could coexist with ease, grace, and joy, knowing that my time is never wasted. My time is never wasted. If I spend all those years on something which was such a powerful divine project, be it real estate development, it was going to pay off. Everyone that put their time and energy into it is going to experience the rewards, and it was going to happen. I just had to. I was the leader of that movement. I just have to keep going, seeing it through. And it became so wonderful because I could just detach from a particular project which I thought was the source of it, to actually knowing that what I wanted, what I was seeing through was living an extraordinary life where all aspects of life could coexist with ease, grace, and joy. And doing that allows the universe to deliver that experience to me. And dots automatically start connecting. Resources utilized in one place deliver multifold in another. And those that have supported me or backed me, they benefit regardless. I don't have to engage with guilt or fear or anything like that. It is a foundational piece of tactful, seeing it through, which builds that tenacity muscle. Now, I did say that a part of the 7 things you should know about tenacity, I'm also going to talk about the 3 pitfalls. So here are the pitfalls. When it comes to tactful, where tactful stops delivering what it is that you want, and it very easily puts you into a realm where you're walking on eggshells or navigating navigating landmines, are these pitfalls. The first pitfall is fob off, where we use tactfulness in our communications to fob off someone or something. And that's a pitfall. Especially now, these days, when there isn't a carpet to shove things under. There isn't a closet to hide things in. So you think you're putting it under a carpet, but you're not, you're just spreading it around. So nobody gets fobbed off other than you. And you live in this illusion that, got away with it. You didn't. All that happened is many more people than otherwise would have done have decided they're not going to work with you anymore. Because when you thought you were fobbing off, shoving something under the carpet or taking it in a different direction, you were literally spreading dirt. And that dirt that was associated with you was sticking in people's fields. It is a pitfall. And where the person we fob off the most is ourselves. It's not important right now. You don't have the time to start adding swimming lessons to this. When are you going to do it? You're afraid of water. You live in this hotel apartment. Are they going to allow a swimming instructor to come? But the only way I could do it is if the swimming instructor was personal and she would come and use my pool. That's the way I could fit it in. Well, look at it. Her website says she does swimming classes. Why would she come to you? I'm so easy to fob myself off about this and say, oh, that is a nice desire. It's okay. Well, I just thought I'll ask, I decided I'm not falling into this pitfall. I'm not falling into this pit. So I decided to ask. She could do it twice a week at 7 a.m., which is perfect for me because my day begins at 4 a.m. So by 7, I am well and truly ready for a swimming class. And at that time, there aren't many hotel guests. The pool is to myself. The lifeguard is on duty. And they're all pretty cool about it. Me having a swimming instructor in the pool. Other times of the day, they wouldn't have been. You can imagine every guest bringing a swimming instructor in, just would be quite disastrous. But because I chose not to go into the pit, not to fall into the pit of fob off. So just look, lay of the land, very important. Look at what are the things where you have fobbed yourself off. Where we do this the most is when we stop acknowledging our own worthiness. I can't really ask for what I want, I so want this particular thing, or I so want this particular career, I so want this particular role, or whatever it might be. So you start fobbing yourself off. And all that does is, it's a pit you fall into. And the fob of all often arises from need to, have to, must do. That's where the fob off begins. What if you just decide, I don't need to do anything? I mean, I have to say, that was most liberating thing I ever did. That's allowed me to be in this wonderful kindergarten space. Bright-eyed, bushy-tailed sparkles, learning all these things. My singing teacher yesterday says, this is my second singing lesson, and she says, bravo, you finally sang this one note. And I said, oh, I'm supposed to be positive. I said, it's okay. In 1 hour, I have sung one note, which is singing. It's okay. There was no ego or anything. I was like, okay, I'm just very excited that I sang one thing that sounded like a song, like some form of music in it. And you can do all that because you're not in a pit. When you've fallen into a pit, all that you have is, you're confined, so severely confined, and there may be light, there may not be light, whatever that may be. But remember, use acknowledgement as your tool to get out of the pit that you might have fallen into because of fobbing yourself off. Remember, when you think you fobbed somebody else off, you have not. You only fob yourself. You only ever do this to yourself. And when you think you're doing it to others, you're just taking that dustpan and going spray on everyone else. And they've got dirt on them, and that's it. They just say, okay, fine, not going to deal with this one. The second pit. So the second pitfall. Second pitfall is when we think we have to use a tactful approach because, something that someone has done and it's unnerving. So you have to be tactful, otherwise you could hurt someone or you could hurt yourself. Unnerving is a pitfall. Unnerving. I mean, it's like, okay. So what does this unnerving mean? Think about it. It's as if your nerves are being stretched like a rubber band. And that's when you go into using tactfulness. Well, if you are feeling very stretched, and that can happen when you hear everything I talk about in terms of there's a miracle in the moment and something pretty awful has occurred, or someone has done something that you've just uncovered, and it feels so unnerving. And you're called to act on something unrelated, but you're unnerved by what has just occurred. And you want to tactfully decline someone just so that you could regroup. Don't worry about tactful. Acknowledge that you are unnerved right now. That in itself releases the tension. Then look at where in your body are you feeling this. Then look at, okay, this is where when you acknowledge it, a little bit of exhale happens. When you go into where in my body am I feeling it, you're now focused on your body, not what's unnerving you. You come back into your body, deeper exhales happen, and that every deep exhale results in a deep inhale. Your body is now oxygenated. There's more oxygen that is flowing in your body. You can now really engage with what happened. Because when you get unnerved and you get into a spin, you've muddled the meaning you gave to what occurred with what occurred. They become one and the same thing. What occurred. It's the meaning you gave. That is what has the emotional reaction. That is what is the emotional trigger. But when you're not able to separate the two, the meaning becomes the reality. And it's very hard to deal with that, because who are you going to go to shift the meaning? You can come to terms with the reality of what occurred, but if you're going to make the meaning the reality, only you can drop the meaning. There's no point in giving it some other meaning. So that's why I don't go into, those of you who've done my work, I never ask you to do positive thinking about anything. I always say, get real, get real. Get real at a level of nuance. And then make an empowered choice. First, get real. It is in that getting real that you are actually not falling into the pit of unnerving. You're able to stay on land. The train wreck doesn't happen. You may forget that you're even on a train, and it'll keep going forward until you reconnect to where you are. When you go and start using tactfulness in your communication when you are unnerved, it just takes you into a spin that nothing comes from it. You literally fall into a pit, which is deeper than the fob-off pit. It's much harder to get out. The seventh pit, which is the third pitfall, the seventh thing you should know. I mean, it's called lowbrow. Lowbrow basically is little or no intellectual interest. It's tasteless distraction. So when you use tactfulness as a way of manipulating, maneuvering things, in a certain way, it is a very lowbrow approach to achieving whatever it is that you wish to achieve. To avoid this pitfall, get clear about why you're even spending time on this. Why are you even having this communication? Get clear about the intention and take a highbrow approach to it. You don't need to go lowbrow using some tactical maneuverings to get your way. The moment you go lowbrow, it's nothing intellectual. It's, quite tasteless. There's not much interest in it. Just doing it just for the heck of it. It's a very lowbrow approach. And it is disconnected from what you intend to happen in your life. So to avoid this pitfall, always just go back to, why am I doing this? Why am I spending time on this? What is it that I really want? And then go highbrow, using the 4 foundation pieces of Tactful. Over to you, Catherine, to bring us to a completion.
Mynoo, I could barely stop writing. This was incredible. I think everybody will agree to that. I have to say, I think it's my favorite one so far. I know I say that a lot. Usually they get a loud, but this is like a huge, huge favorite. What an inspiration too, Mynoo, seeing you in your Messy and Miracles. And I just kept seeing that through every bit of the delivery. I just got so inspired and I could feel the joy. And I was like, that's how I want to live my life. And I think that's, what my take home is this is possible. Like we now have these tools. We just forget, we're now opening up to what we maybe didn't know, or we forgot. I should say that. So thank you so much for bringing that to light. Wow, I'm super inspired. And I'd love to close with any words that anyone would like to share for Mynoo. What a beautiful night. Yes, absolutely brilliant, Mynoo. And I think, Vince summed it up earlier. This is the secret to life, over and over. It was incredible. We could have so many sessions on just this one pearl of wisdom. I don't know, Mynoo, you just keep outdoing yourself. we always do something called a vac before we start, and we kind of see what's coming to life in our mind's eye, so to speak, and we feel it. And we both knew this one was going to be pretty special. So thank you all for coming tonight, for sharing, for caring. I know we get the high 10. Mynoo, you are brilliant, and cannot wait to see you guys next Thursday, if not before. I love it. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Mynoo. Incredible.
Bye-bye. Thank you.